Might be a little cut off from Oh, no, that's good. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, trying to get the live stream going here, so. All right, good evening, welcome everyone. My name is Ben Nelson, I'm a project manager with the St. Paul District feasibility stages. We're doing a feasibility study, so it's very early on, just getting started. Restoration projects from the Twin Cities down to Iowa in the St. Paul District. So the Upper Mississippi River includes all 5 states on the map. So that's projects up and down that stretch of the Mississippi River. Components to UMR, and that would be the Habitat Rehabilitation and Enhancement projects, which is HREPs. I'm going to say that because it's a lot shorter. So HREPs, which would be for fish and wildlife habitat, and then also long-term resource monitoring. So those are kind of the 2 main pieces of the UMRR program. Today we're mostly going to be talking about HREPs, and specifically an HREP that we're looking at for Robinson Lake here. Like I mentioned, we've done projects and are currently working on from Iowa. Here are some of the projects that have either recently been planned or designed. Some are in construction, some have been recently completed. The red star here is a highlight for Robinson Lake. We also see Big Lake right across the river that we started, we were here just last year. So the different colors show the different stages in design. You can see some are further along than others. We're just at the beginning planning feasibility stage for Robinson Lake, and then we'll keep moving forward on a number of these projects. The HREPs are all 100% federally funded, like I said, through that through an act of Congress for that authorization. So some of the things that HREPs address would be invasive species like green canary grass, buckthorn, erosion, sedimentation, less loss of depth diversity in the pools. So up and down the river, we're looking at different issues, different problems, but we use these habitat projects to address some of these issues. One of the main ways we look at addressing these issues is building islands. We do that by placing sand or granular material, and then placing soil or fine material on top of that, and then planting that with seeding vegetation, planting trees. Here you can see an example at Conway Lake HREP, where it goes from sand to soil to vegetation. And this diagram cartoon shows kind of how I explained the process for islands there. Some of the other features that we look at for doing HREPs, in addition to islands, would be using rock for closures, rocks to stabilize the islands or the other features, and the closures to modify or adjust the flow in certain areas. We also look at construction access, where we need to get to build these features, and dredging for overwintering for fish. We can also use that dredge material to help us build some of these other features. We can have wetlands in these projects, and then, yeah, we can have sediment deflectors as well, which I think we talked about out in the hall a little bit, to manage some of the flows and sediment. So, and these features are in addition to island features, some of the things that we do, but not an exhaustive list. Like I said, we also do more than just those construction features. These would be some of the forest management features, some of the non-construction features, things like thinning or removal of invasive species, planting of different types, trying to manage the forests. If we get a a single species stand dominated. We may want to manage for that. So yeah, these are just some of the additional things that we do forestry-wise and vegetation in addition to construction, all as part of these HRAP or habitat projects. In Lower Pool 4, the Corps of Engineers also does dredging, like we do up and down the Mississippi River, dredging for navigation. So we maintain a 9-foot navigable channel in the main channel of the Mississippi River. This is done for commerce, such as barges moving up and down the river, for recreation, for public use. This federal navigation, when we talk about navigation, this is what we mean at the Corps of Engineers. So we're talking main channel navigation, and that's the type of dredging that we do here. I know some of you are very familiar with these dredge placement sites across the river. So just across the river here, TPO Point, placement of some of that dredge material. Recently, last fall, we completed a dredge material management plan for the Lower Pool area. I'm sure some of you read some of those meetings and some of those discussions. This project is separate from that project. So that project deals with the navigation and the dredging of that material. This project, we're talking about habitat restoration. So the HRAP, or the Habitat Rehabilitation and Enhancement Project, is what we're talking about today for Robinson Lake. But just to make sure that that's clear from the dredging and a lot of things and a lot of other projects that we do down in the river. In 2020, for Lower Pool 4, agencies got together and developed a fact sheet. You can find that fact sheet online. It shows some of the ideas that we have for projects in Lower Pool 4. These are broken into 3 phases. Phase 1, Big Lake. Phase 2, Robinson Lake. And phase 3 was for a future tank pond or Buffalo River area. This map here is up on the website with the entire area, all 3 phases outlined. Here we're talking about Robinson Lake today, which would be phase 2. And these are lands in the Mississippi River, lands managed by the Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And so these are some of the agencies that help decide on the prioritization and when and where we're going to do some of this habitat work. I think I see some familiar faces, and I'm sure that we're in a familiar place. The posters are out on the lockers, just like we did last fall. So back in August, we were here talking about the Big Lake HRAP, so across the river, and that was considered phase 1 for Lower Pool 4. So we do have some updates there. We have some more information on our website. We hopefully will have a public report later this year for y'all. But you can sign up for the email address if you want to stay connected for that. Otherwise, you can sign up on the list outside as well. I think folks maybe spend a little bit of time looking at the maps outside. You're more than welcome to after this as well. We have a number of maps. This one showing the phases 1 and 2. So we have phase 1, the Big Lake side of the river. You can see some of the features identified here. Some of the features outlined there that we could potentially do for a Big Lake project. And then you'll just see the outline of the area for the Robinson Lake side. So we don't have features identified. We're early in the feasibility. We're just trying to get out, kind of collect information and start to understand and think about where we might want some of those features. So probably easier to see this outside on the map, but we also have things on our website as well. Like I mentioned, we're looking to collect more information, always collect more data. This is actually very, very recently. This is just from the past few weeks. I think late April, so maybe past 3 weeks. This is bathymetry data, or the water depth. This one's also out in the hall, so if you want to take a closer look. This is very, very new, recent surveys. The lighter area here is generally about 2 feet or less, or 1 foot, and then the darker area being deeper than 2 feet for the most part. So I think folks, even if you just have an interest in understanding that, that is very, very current bathymetry or water depth data. So that's pretty interesting. This project team, or the team that works on these projects, is not just the Corps of Engineers. This is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, USGS, and then Minnesota DNR work through LTRM as well. So I mentioned there's two parts to the UMRR program, the Mississippi River Restoration Program, and that would be the HREPs, or the habitat projects, and the LTRM, which is the monitoring or data collection. The LTRM is something that we use when we develop these habitat projects. They help us answer questions, they help us find solutions. There's a lot of data collection that's gone on in Lower Pool 4 and in the stretch of the Mississippi River. So it's really helpful to have this program that's looking at different ways to use this information, to collect this information, and then we can give them feedback as we develop these projects, how we could find that information useful. So it's kind of a back and forth of we get information, we get data, and then we can say, here's how we're using it, and here's how we could use it better in the future. I've said a few times that we're early in the stages. This is the beginning of the feasibility study. This is kind of a high-level general outline of where we're looking. It'll probably be about 2 years still before we're getting into kind of the reports and the public reviews of the documents, and potentially by the end of that year, getting to where we have final reports and things. So very early, still several years out from even with these feasibility documents, not to mention going further into design and then getting to actual construction. So that should help give a little bit of a frame of how early we are on where we're at in the process. The next steps for us are to collect more information with working with LTRM, working with the other agencies. We actually have some folks out there collecting data this week. And then also to work with all of you and get information from you. So we want to hear from you, give us, ask your question, but also give us some of the information that you know about the area that can be helpful for us. Outside, there's a sign-in sheet to stay up to date. There's comment cards that you can hand in today or send in through the mail. We only ask if you're providing comments after today, just do it by June 21st to be helpful. So that's through email, through sending it through the mail. Lots of opportunities still beyond just today. So before we get to the questions from you, just wanted to kind of lay these questions out for y'all. Wanted to see kind of your thoughts and what you value about Robinson Lake. Clearly everyone here, I think you come to this project, you care about Robinson Lake, so what do you value about it? What have you seen change? I'm sure a lot of you have been around, have been fishing here for a long time, you've been boating in this area, you live in this area. What have you noticed has changed? And what do you think is that's important for us to know? So how can we better understand this resource that is Robinson Lake through some of the things that you know? So again, there's a QR code for the website. The website has information on Robinson Lake and on Big Lake. But thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you folks for joining online. That'll be the end of the online presentation. All right. All right. So if folks have questions, and we do have a microphone, we can run around